So, just a little background. I've been helping landscaping companies since 2019, regular speaker and published several articles in the area. As far as SEO, I'm ranked 109 out of 536,000 SEOs. And over the years, I've helped like six clients achieve a buyout or exit. We've maintained a turnover rate below 7% since 2009. And our growth engine that we've set up really supports AEO and SEO, and as I'll go into in a minute, but we're a full service digital marketing agency. And essentially there's nine ways to get leads and they are around increasing visibility, converting more leads, and obviously adjusting and improving. AEO is a new category, and I'm pretty excited about it. We've had several of our clients recommended, and I got to tell you, when Chat-GPT or Claude or whatever recommends your services, the client comes in, inclined to buy from you. So this is something that's really important, and hopefully this is helpful to you. What we're going to talk about today is how AEO is set up and how it connects to SEO, how AI search is influencing purchases, and then kind of where AEO gets or AIs gets its information for deciding who to recommend. And one thing I'll say, as just an overall, is a good SEO strategy is like a foundation for AEO, and AEO really just extends that. But the way it interacts with the web is different than how search engines interact with the web. So it's kind of the same but different. A basic concept to think about is is the AIs when they're making a recommendation. First of all, this is kind of a point of contention for me. AI isn't really AI. It's large language models or deep machine learning. And so, although it's supposed to be intuitive like humans, it's not. So it needs like a framework or a foundation to make its decisions based on. And I think understanding that is going to help you a lot in your endeavors to get recommended by the AIs. So, by the way, has anybody here had a recommendation by an AI search engine or experienced that? Okay. We've had that happen with our clients. It's been really good. Essentially, w ways to get there is to provide clear, direct answers to questions, send signals about your credibility through things like reviews, photos, awards, press releases, consistent business details, and content that you need to write content for SEO now, but you also need to write content for AIs so they can summarize it. And just a side note here. So right now, AEO is less than 1% of search, but it's rapidly growing. I think we're going to really see it impact this season. But all the voice search like Siri and Alexa and others, that the foundation for that now is all AI. And so that's one of the fastest growing search categories. And so if you do good AEO, you're also going to do good voice search. All right. So, real high level, SEO helps you get found by the search engines. And, you're looking at rankings for keywords and technical performance links and on-page optimization. AEO helps you get recommendations. So it's like a third-party recommendation. And you need to be selected as the best answered, including all summaries, snippets, and AI recommendations. You still need SEO foundations for AEO. AEO is the layer that improves your odds of being chosen when a question is asked. And this is kind of some examples. Like on the left is like a traditional search result, and that's what I think you're used to seeing. But more and more, you're seeing these AI overviews. And as you click down into these, it starts to recommend its sources, which preferably would be your company. And so the intent is different. So basically, people are asking directly who does things and who is the best at things. And essentially on search, it often produces a one feature answer, a short list of recommended businesses, and there are fewer clicks to websites because people get their answer and move on. So you want to be part of that recommended list. So you need to essentially understand the service needed and essentially think about it as like a pitcher and catcher. The client, potential client is pitching a question, and then you need to recommend the service in a way that answers that. You need, geographic relevance is like on search of 40% weighting on recommendation, and it kind of translates over to AI. So you want to kind of match it to your location and service areas. Again, coming back to me talking about the AI is trying to compare things or rate things, trust signals like reviews, awards, press releases, things like that really help. And then the AI kind of wants to recommend the best fitting business. All right, so the big thing is like how do these engines decide who to recommend? So they use obviously your website, and within your website, your service pages are critical. We advise, by the way, that you have FAQs on your website. We kind of go further, and in many cases with our clients, we put our FAQs on every single page, around the service. Location info is super important. And then you need to have social proof, and that could be reviews, awards, associations, anything to validate that you're a good company to work with. And I know it's totally dumb, but like the Better Business Bureau, it's a good thing for consumers, and the AIs kind of like it too. And then on your Google business profile, which matches up to your website, you want to build out your categories and services, service area, and you want to have photos. One thing to comment on that is on the photos, you want to have something describing what the photo is, so mark it up with the descriptions. And if you can add about 20 to 30 photos to what you've got, that'll often like boost your visibility like 2 or 300%. And then just you need to be constantly like weekly going in and updating things. Reviews are king on search, and they're king with AI. And so you want to get a good quality. It's great on the reviews if they talk about what service they got from you, and then obviously the volume. And a good way to look at that is look at your competitors and see how many reviews they have. And you want to have at least as many as they do. In AI, it's third-party mentions. So in SEO, it's called inbound links or citations. So having like local directories, associations, community pages, being involved in your community and being referenced by like, baseball teams or Chamber of Commerce, anything that kind of shows that you're a member of the community, that helps too. And then social signals is kind of signaling your activity and relevance. So here's kind of a breakdown of a page. So top, you've got your AI generated summary, a featured snippet. And these are kind of interesting. These were created with search engines, and now they're kind of a hybrid between they use AI and they also use the original feature snippet signaling. People also ask is a new section that people have. And then the 5 pack has become the 3 pack on search. Again, coming back to the visibility on the map pack being lower. All right. So for an AI, you want to break it down and explain it to it like it's a 5-year-old. So you want to have what you do, your specific surfaces. And the way we build things out is we build the service categories and think of that as a broad explanation of services. And then we do subcategories for specific services. And the more specific you are, the better it is for conversion on search, but it's also better for the AI who's trying to differentiate you And I'm just going to use this as an example. Bluestone patios are a big thing in North Carolina. And so, you might have a page on patios, but if you specifically do bluestone patios, then, that's even better. And if somebody's asking, like, who's the best guy to do bluestone spat patios, that specific response is going to make a really big difference. And then talking about who you serve, specifically it's residential or commercial or both, and then where you serve them, and then credibility, right? So photos, reviews, certifications, anything around that. We recently had a client get their certification for, I think it was retaining walls from somebody. And we actually went so far as to do show the certification. We did a press release talking about what that meant. And we did that mainly for SEO. And then secondarily, we did it for the AIs because essentially we use that as a format to explain to the AIs why they were different. And then you want to have kind of a clear next steps how people can get a hold of you. All right. So I think I've talked about all of this. Any questions so far from anyone? All right. So we're doing a good job breaking it down for you. All right. Got five strategy here. First one is featured snippets and AI overviews. So featured snippet is a highlighted answer pulled from the web page, simple, direct questions with quick answers. And again, definitions, quick how-to, cost, timelines, things like that. One thing, there's a book called Endless Customers by Marcus Sheridan, and he talks about transparency with your clients and kind of how to lay those things out. That's a good reference. And then essentially when you get the snippet, it still sends clicks to your page. And then again, AI uses that kind of direct information to pull a summary from multiple sources, and visibility is getting included as a cited source. I think one thing that I haven't clarified enough is this is the foundation for potential clients that do search within Chat-GPT or Claude or others and ask like who's the best provider for the service, or what's people's process. And that's something I haven't said, and I'll mention, is both search and AIs really love the process of things that shows them how to do it, how you do it, and that you know what you're doing. And then on the search side, your actual potential clients, most of them want to see that not because they want to do it, but because they want to know, that you know what you're doing. And again, for them, a lot of times this purchase of a new landscape is one of their bigger purchases. And so they don't want to make a bad decision. So here's just a couple examples, a snippet versus an AI overview and what that might look like on search. And so you want to be snippet ready and AI overview ready content. So you want to have a question style heading, a direct 2 to 3 sentence answer, short list of steps, options, or requirements are great. And again, you want to include those local detail. And then just like you want to tell the customer, give a call to action to a customer, you want to provide that for the AIs as well. And again, this seems obvious, but people don't do it. You want to use clear headings that match how people search. So there's tools that will show you what people are searching for. And you want to, just again, coming back to the pitcher and catcher analogy, you want to, think about what people are searching for and have headings that match that. And then just give a short, like the elevator pitch, the short answer first, and then you can expand. One thing that I like to do in our content is I like to have people write their outline, and that's the headings, and then I have them write the bullet points and essentially then fill in the rest. And that's because consumers, as well as the AIs, they look at those bullet points and then they'll kind of delve in deeper if there's better information. And again, you want to make it super scannable and have tables, bullets, things like that. And and again, you want to be consistent on your contact info between the website and Google Business Profile. And here's some examples for you, things you could look at. But again, these are questions that consumers have, and if you can provide an answer, right? And obviously, like, what is included in weekly mowing, that could be your process, or like what you guys include. How much does mulch installation cost? Again, that could be not a number, but this is how we estimate that. So here's an example of what I was talking about. And just really, again, maybe not provide a price, what the steps are. And so there's a lot of reasons we like press releases. It does get your company marked as news for 30 to 90 days on search, which is a good thing. But the other thing is it's a format where it's acceptable to have more hyperbole or self-aggrandizement than would be normally acceptable. And, because AIs want to know who's the best or who's better and why. And in a press release, you're more able to do that without coming off as ingenuine. It's kind of silly, but in that format, you can be more aggressive about, talking yourself up than in others, and it's not going to hurt you elsewhere. FAQs are awesome, and the reason why they're awesome is it supports voice search and AI search. And then also, it's crazy, but a lot of our potential clients will go through and actually read those FAQs because, again, they're not buying your service as much as they're buying what you know and how you think and whether they relate to it. So this, could be used to reduce confusion and objections. And again, it's something that the voice search and the AIs directly pick up. It's important enough to us that we tend to put it on every one of our clients' pages for their services. And then talking about your timeline and scheduling, how you're going to disrupt your neighborhood. Like, in Portland with the blower ban, for example, it's important to say that you're all electric if you are, or that you'll, do things to moderate noise between certain hours. That type of thing does matter. And here's some examples. I Years ago I had a guy remove a tree and he didn't explicitly say that he was going to remove it from my yard, and so I ended up with this big pile of tree in my yard. So it's important to, people want to know, are you going to remove the debris? Because some people won't. And what the schedule is of your maintenance, how you handle weeds in the mulch beds. These again are all obvious things to you, but they may not be to your customer. And the commercial side, they're going to want to know about, when you'll miss service, like what weather events will do that, how you're going to let them know, what insurance requirements you meet, that type of thing. And then local signals show up in the near me and service area searches for both the search engines and AIs. So it's kind of a theme here. Reducing ambiguity is pretty important. And see, service radius or list of cities you serve. We will actually do service area pages for every city or area we serve for our clients. Specifically, don't just say you do maintenance, for example. If you do residential, say residential maintenance. If you do commercial, say that. And better yet, if you do both, say you do both. But be like, the more specific you are, the better you're going to be with AEO. And also, this is a subtle sub point, but in some cases you'll offer services in some areas, but not others. And go ahead and be specific about that. That's going to help you. All right. Well, I think I've covered all this. So as we stated earlier, it's important to keep your profile up to date. And by the way, your service list, I would be updating that all the time and just making sure it's not ambiguous at all. Your hours you want to keep up to date. And again, on your photos, people buy from people, and photos of your crew getting training, that's all like really good branding, and it also helps raise your credibility. And that's especially important if you're doing commercial. And then again, the Google Business Profile has a Q&A section. And again, putting common questions with clean answers it's a really good thing to do. And for most people, it's a missed opportunity. So, structured data, schema, website structure, that sounds like really out there. But what schema is a language that was created to help originally the search engines, and now it's the AIs, differentiate the differences between things. And so an example of that might be have any of you done searches for recipes on the web? And have you noticed that you can say, for example, I want a recipe that has chicken and it can't have onions, it has to be gluten free, and it's under 300 calories. If you do that search, you'll get a result. And the reason for that is schema was originally the way they tested and developed schema was on recipes. And so it's really strong there. But again, that just gives you an idea. So it helps them differentiate between things. And in the case of landscaping, there is a schema specifically for our industry. And if you use that markup, you can help differentiate your services and products. And then things to prioritize that you can do without hiring somebody to do schema specifically is again having your local business, and we call this the NAP, name, address, phone number, on your site and in your Google business profile. You want to have your hours, your service area, and then again, service schema and clear service sections. Again, you can mark up your Q&A and FAQ with schema and reviews. Again, sometimes you get people, especially older clients, that don't know how to do a Google review and won't do it, but they'll send you a written testimonial. You can post that testimonial on your website, and if you have review schema on it, the different review sites will often pick those up. So again, one of the areas the AIs look at is your response time. Also, this is a really good way to gather FAQs and snippet sections is using chat. So a lot of times on our websites, we'll have a text to chat so that people could talk to you on their desktop, and then you could respond via text. And those text interactions are great for customer service, but they're also great for coming up with these FAQs and featured snippet sections. They kind of give you ideas. And I think one of the other things about this is a lot of times you'll have people in an office that they can't talk on the phone, but they can do a web chat. And so that lets them kind of research their services. And obviously, they're going to be more likely to go to a provider that has that option. So you can set up a bot in your chat so you can ask them like what the services they're looking for, their address, what their timing is, their budget range. They can upload photos, best contact method for them. That's all available. One thing that we will also provide that's something you could do is we have a little add-on where at night, if somebody's searching at like 2 in the morning, they can request a callback and upload information and have you get back to them the next day. And you can use this type of info there. So search has started to include it a lot more. And then coming back to the AIs trying to compare things, Reddit has become a huge source for AEO. And so one of the things that we're doing for people is being more active there. And it's because, Reddit threads are being used in AI because it's more of a real experience. And you can use it for research to find the exact questions and wording people use. And then when your brand is mentioned on Reddit, it actually builds a bunch of trust signals. And so, kind of Reddit with the website Google Business is kind of a pretty powerful, combo. But you do kind of need to have a Reddit profile and you do need to be a little bit active. Uh, and, this is true on a lot of things, is just be helpful. Don't be like self-promoting and look for subreddits where your ideal customers post. And, you want to just provide specific and practical answers, talk about trade-offs and give a simple next step. You don't want to be salesy and you don't want to copy and paste the same reply in multiple places. It needs to be more organic. For my company, and I'm sure you guys know about this, there's a bunch of landscaping forums for people starting out or trying to do things. And, we'll post on there, but we're really careful. Like, I'll always see people like posting, like, oh, need a website or need digital marketing. And they just like post their name and stuff. And the response in Reddit and in groups like that is super negative. And so just think about that. Like, when you're in a group and somebody does that, how you feel. And you don't want to be that. You want to be the super helpful and knowledgeable person in the group. And oh, by the way, I do landscaping, right? That's kind of got to be the play on that. And it's really well received. And because not a lot of people are aware of Reddit, it's kind of an area where you can get ahead of your competition. And then the AIs pick up on that Reddit info and directly put it into their search criteria. And again, using Reddit as a research tool, when you see the same question coming up and over again on Reddit, that's actually usually a prime area to do your content. And so look at that as a source for ideas for your content. And you want to, look at, doing the steps to do things. If you can talk about costs and timelines, seasonality, and then kind of what is normally included, what might change the price. This is all really helpful for AEO and is helpful on Reddit as well. All right, so we got to put this into action. So we kind of came up with this kind of 4-week plan for you. Google Business Profile cleanup and completion. Maybe take some time to really look at that. Even if you've been in business for a while, those often get to be stale. You'll often be surprised if you actually go in there to see how the services have changed, for example. Make sure your NAP or your listing is consistent between your website and your Google Business Profile. And then adding social proof like photos, and then, get your review link and get that out to people. One thing I recommend, and I think I recommend it on almost every webinar, is Zappy cards or near field communication cards. Those are pretty great. You can upload your review link, and when you tap somebody's phone, the review screen comes right up. So it's hard for them not to write a review. I mean, I guess they can close out the screen, but most of the time people just write a review. And then basically maybe week two, you try to get 10 high intent Q&As done. Start your FAQs with what the questions you think are the most important. Maybe add some snippet ready sections, for your top five search services in week three. Uh, Clarify your service area and proof blocks, reviews, and photos. All right. And then the bonus round is in week four, add structured data, add chat, reviewed lead question, and expand your content. So again, don't be vague, you know, be really clear on your service area, update and have robust photo galleries. I have somebody that He's probably got the most extensive, and he does design build, but he's got the most extensive photo galleries I've ever seen. And this last week, I was so proud of him. He got, I think it was a $464,000 job off his photo galleries. And, so those really matter, those photo galleries, because, customers want to know that they're dealing with somebody that knows what they're doing. If you can get people to mention the service they got from you in the review, that helps the AIs. You don't want to avoid pricing. You want to talk about how you price in clear, logical language. And then you want to give people clear next steps. So here's kind of your AEO checklist. Services first, expand your location information, provide social proof, update the Google business profile, add those FAQs. Again, on the service pages, add snippet ready sections and clear call to actions. You want to have consistent listings across the web and structured data. And then if you can add that chat, that's a bonus round. But if you did all these things, or even part of these things, it's really going to help you grow your business. All right. Well, I am super especially grateful today for everyone putting up with my cold. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. And, just let us know if we can help you. And we hope you have a wonderful day.